Welcome back to the
VanDyke
VanDyke Show. We just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We had Bryce on last week. You guys got to kind of hear how the organization kind of works of the Jets, what their goal is. I mean, obviously every team Super Bowl is the goal at the end of the year, but I think they're actually going to change that, and I think they're on the right quest. That's for sure. And it was kind of good to hearing that inside scoop of kind of how the organization works and what their vision is, and just getting a guy on to sit down and talk to us, and it's not just me and Levi.
Yeah, it was nice. It was definitely a little change of pace. I'm excited for that hard knock, especially with 2 fights on the first day.
2 fights first day.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers out there slinging it.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens. I think Hard Knock's gonna be cool for sure. Pretty hyped up for that. Me and Levi are gonna bounce back. We know we gave you like our top 10 big boards in fantasy, but I mean, let's be real. Top 10, a lot of those people are gonna be gone in like the second to third round.
For sure.
So gonna kind of dive into some other players you can probably get later in the draft, and they'll still add value to your team.
You don't win fantasy in the first 2 to 3 rounds.
No, because
a lot of it's waiver wire pickups.
And because a lot of these people are gonna get hurt.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe in your first and second round pick, like starting running backs and stuff like that. So we're gonna see if we can help you out. So maybe you can win a league or just have a good time playing this year.
I mean, fantasy's tough this year, especially with the running backs. I mean, we got Josh Jacobs and Saquon. You don't have any idea.
You don't know what they're doing. I mean, that's another thing we talked about is the whole contract thing. I mean, they're all kind of getting together. Me and you actually talked about the contract on the second episode, how we don't agree how running backs are so undervalued, and now it's becoming a big thing with Saquon and Josh Jacobs both saying Derrick Henry. Well, they're both saying they're not going to play. They're not going to sign the tag.
Yep.
The only one that signed the tag was Tony Pollard, but he hasn't been a starting running back, so I kind of don't blame him for that. But yeah, you got all these running backs: Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, Austin Eckler. Them all sitting down, and I feel for them. I mean, they are the most underpaid position in football. Like the average salary is less than a kicker,
and it's the worst position to play in football. I mean, you're running down the tackles, getting hit by 300-pound men, 250 linebackers. Like at the end of the day, that you're gonna get hurt as a running back. Their time in the league's not very long.
No,
they have the shortest
shelf life. Yeah. And it's not fair that they can get a 5-year contract, their first-round pick, and then they get franchise tagged twice. That's 7 years as a running back.
That's almost
their whole career, so they definitely got to figure something out. And it's like, Bijan Robinson, I know he's great and all, but he's going to be the highest-paid running back this year, and he hasn't even played it down in the NFL.
I mean, I love Bijan.
I do too, but
I don't think that's right.
No, that's pretty crazy.
I seen something. It was like Isaiah Pacheco is 24 or something like that, and he's not gonna be able to hit the market till he's like 27 or 28.
Yeah, his career might almost be on the tail end of that.
So
crazy. And another thing is like the franchise tag for running backs is the only position where it hasn't went up. And like it was like since 2008, the percentage is down 1%. It's like, how is the NFL, these players are making more money, but they're still getting paid the same amount?
Yeah, it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, running back, you got to be able to catch the ball. You got to be able to pick up in pass protection.
Pick up the blitz.
I mean, there's so many categories that you have to like be an expert at to be a running back.
Yeah, and some of them play special teams.
That's what I'm saying. So
wild.
It doesn't really make sense.
But I guess we can hop into the running backs for fantasy. I mean, we're kind of talking about 3 right now that aren't really even still on the market.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Zeke, Dalvin, and Kareem Hunt. All could be RB1s. I mean, Zeke, maybe not now in his career, but he can still get you the goal line touchdowns or short yard pickups that you need. But Dalvin Cook, I mean, the guy was 6th in the league in rushing, and he's still on the market.
I mean, I think there's a little more people to understand. I think that he's going through some legal situations with his ex-girlfriend or whatever. I think that's a big thing. I heard that he tried to pay her off for like $1 million. She ended up saying no. So, I mean, that might be something that NFL teams know that we don't, that they're not releasing to the public. But, I mean, if that gets squashed, you're going to have to go sign that guy. He's a guy that's going to have 1,000 yards, 200, 300 yards receiving.
Yeah, he might be a guy that takes that team from a playoff contender to almost a Super Bowl contender with how explosive he is on offense.
I think he really helped the Vikings offense last year.
Oh, yeah, but, I mean, I think they'll have a little fall off, but Alexander Madison is still good.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he'll be a bigger name after this season. People will really be wanting to get him in fantasy. So there's one guy we can talk about. We have to talk about is Alexander Madison. I think you can probably target him in the 5th to 6th round.
Yep.
And that can be an RB1 for you.
No, for
Hands
sure.
down, he's going to get his touches. I mean, the Vikings have a lot of explosive players on offense.
And he's going to get some catches, too. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah,
Kevin O'Connell loves to throw the ball to his running back. Like, he has multiple pass sets. I mean, he even lines Jay Jettis back up in the backfield.
Yeah, Kevin O'Connell's a great offensive mind.
For sure.
I mean, if you guys been watching the Netflix quarterback series, I mean, you can kind of see a little bit into their organization, how Kirk Cousins operates, and he's really dialed in. I mean, he's locked in. I mean, he's focused. I mean, everybody doesn't give Kirk Cousins the kind of respect he deserves, but he wins games.
He does.
He wins games, and he takes hits.
I mean, last year he was hurt, like, all banged up last year.
Yeah, he was getting hit. They're winning games, though. So.
I mean, it's crazy. The thing that I thought was insane is how long play calls are.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to spit out a whole sentence in 5 seconds, and you got to hear it through your headphone, and then, like, just get it rolling.
No, you better get it out there because you don't got a lot of time,
yeah,
especially by the time you actually get in the huddle and stuff, too.
Then you got to go through pre-reads and all that extra stuff.
Yeah, so pretty nuts there. But,
I mean, the big thing for me, though, is, like, there's so many running backs this year compared to last fantasy years.
Yes.
Where you'd have to go running back 1 and 2. This year, there's so much value, like, even guys like Cam Akers, bro.
Cam Akers, he was doing so good at the end of the year. You know, he kind of got benched there for a while, and then he came on at the end of the year. He was going crazy. He was like a top 6 running back in fantasy, and you know he's gonna get the ball.
Oh, yeah, Sean McVay was saying he wants to use him in pass sets and stuff as well.
And he can do it all. I mean, that's why he got drafted so high, and he can catch the ball, he can run the ball, he's fast, he's explosive. I mean, he came back off that injury and kind of didn't really get going near the beginning of the year last year. But at the end of the year, if you had him on his team, he probably took you pretty deep into the playoffs.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's just one guy. I mean, there's so many running backs you could get late, like with value, like a big guy. Like James Conner, bro. He's the best running back, or best offensive player besides maybe Hollywood Brown on the Cardinals, and no one's talking about it.
No one's talking about him, and you don't even know when Kyler's going to come back. So, I mean, personally, it's a lot easier to hand the ball off
for sure.
to that running back than it is to try to find somebody down the field with whoever their quarterback even is at this point. I'm not sure if they still have Colt McCoy. I think they do.
Yeah.
But I think you can target him and Cam Akers after the 6th round.
Oh, for sure.
At least in the 5th.
At least, I mean, 5th to 7th round guys, I could see them going.
Mm-hmm. And then you got another guy here with, I like to call him AK-47, but Alvin Kamara, AK-41. He's like ranked as like a top 25 running back, and the guy he can still do everything. I mean, I know the Saints were bad last year, but they really didn't have a quarterback. I mean, I'm sorry, Andy Dalton is not a starting quarterback anymore. He's a backup quarterback, and I think in like 2 or 3 games, Bryce Young will be the starter out there in Carolina.
Yeah, so Panthers fans, calm down.
Yeah, you better watch out. You'll be all right. Bryce Young's got you. But I think Alvin Kamara has a lot of fantasy value. I think he's definitely going to get his 30, 40 catches. That's 40 points easily. And that's not even including the yards, just based on the season. So I think that's another late-round guy that can still produce for you, at least give you 10 to 12 points.
For sure, I agree with that. I mean, Alvin Kamara, years prior, was a 2nd or even 1st-round guy going in the top 5.
Yeah.
And I mean, now people are saying he's going to drop to the 4th and 5th rounds. Doesn't really make the most sense to me. I think the Saints got a lot better. I mean, I think Derek Carr hasn't really been in a great situation.
No, I agree with that.
So, easy division. I mean, you got 6 easy division games. I'm sorry, but Panthers' defense isn't very great. Buccaneers are in shambles, and only other team I really see compete for the division are the Falcons. And I mean, who knows how they're going to be this year? I mean, they're so hit or miss with their quarterback play, and I mean, I think Derek Carr's the most proven quarterback in the division.
I agree with that.
So I mean, you're going to take the experience over younger guys like Bryce Young and Desmond Ridder, even Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I think the only thing that might hurt his fantasy value just a tad is Taysom Hill when he gets his runnings, and they just signed Jamal Williams. But that's just goal line work. I don't think everything from 50 yards out or 40 yards out is all going to be Alvin Kamara.
I think he could get you like 15 points a game PPR-wise. I don't think he's back in his day when he's getting his 25s.
No,
because I think the goal line work used to be him.
Yeah, it did. But I do think, I mean, you can go back and look what Josh Jacobs done in the receiving game the last couple years with Derek Carr, and he's going to hit his check down to Alvin Kamara. And I think in the open field, Alvin Kamara is more explosive than Josh Jacobs.
Oh, I agree 100%.
So there's another one you can probably get out there. I mean, you don't got to take your top 2 picks very, very fast.
I mean, a lot of the thing about running back in fantasy is if you're going to get work or not.
Yep.
And a guy that's going to get a ton of work on a terrible team is Rashid White in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Like, yeah, quarterback plays terrible. he's going to get his checkdowns for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, it's just going to come down to getting work, getting the ball in your hands. I mean, you could be a great running back, but you don't get the ball in your hands, you can't do anything with it.
No, and that's another thing. Same division as the Saints. I mean, that's a lot of division games. I think the Saints had the best defense in that division
down.
easily, but he's still going to get work. I mean, he's going to get his touches, his carries, his catches, and he kind of took over that backfield with Brady there and Leonard Fournette. He kind of ran him out of town, so I think Rashid White's definitely get some work. And I think another guy on another maybe bad team is going to be Damon Pierce.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Damon Pierce, he did really good in fantasy. Kind of came out of nowhere last year. I mean, I had him on one team. He did really good for me. I think he's going to get all the work, really. I mean, they have Devin Singletary. He's probably going to come in only on third downs, but all your goal line, everything's all going to be Damon Pierce. C.J. Stroud is not a runner in the goal line, but he will check it down to him if he has to. So I think Damon Pierce is going to be a solid late round, 6th, 5th round guy for you.
For sure.
To go grab starting running back.
Damon Pierce is going to get an RB1 workload type deal.
Yep.
I mean, I think the Texans are definitely going to take a bigger leap than people expect.
I think so, too.
Like, that division isn't the greatest at all by any standards. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tennessee has a great defense.
Yes.
And I think them adding DeAndre Hopkins is going to change that play a bit.
Yep.
As well as Jacksonville having a good defense. I mean, the Colts kind of have a good defense as well. But in divisions where you got good defense, you got to be able to run the ball, or else their pass rush is just going to eat up your offense.
Yep, and especially the rookie quarterback, because I know C.J. Stroud's going to be that starting quarterback down there.
Oh, yeah.
But with that being said, I think DeMeco Ryan, I think that Texans defense will keep them in a lot of games also.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of close games inside that division.
Oh, for sure. Another big guy, I mean, you got Lamar as your MVP.
Yep.
He's running back J.K. Dobbins. Bro.
Oh, J.K., man. Before he got hurt, when he was out there at Ohio State, man, he was a running back one. And, he still was a running back one last year.
Yep.
And
he's hurt. Still
he was hurt, little banged up. But, I mean, he's going to get his workload. The Ravens love to run the ball.
Yep.
I think his workload might go down a little bit because they're going to try to throw it with Lamar more, which is okay.
Still got Gus Edwards there, too.
Yeah, you got Gus Bus coming back off an injury also. I think Baltimore does good. I think J.K. does good, and I think he gets paid probably after this year.
I mean, I hope all running backs get paid after this year. I mean,
100%.
I mean, if Saquon and Josh Jacobs and all them take a stand and sit out, and I mean, look at what Le'Veon Bell did years prior. I mean, he sat out, he got paid, and then I mean, he went to the Jets, and then it didn't really do anything. But shit, he got his money.
Yeah, and if more people would have kind of took a stand when Le'Veon did, I think this whole thing would have been squashed years ago,
sure.
and we wouldn't even be in the situation we are right now.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that 100%.
But just bouncing on that, I mean, the Giants tried to offer Saquon 2 years for like $22 million, and the franchise tag is $10.1. So really, they were just trying to franchise tag him twice without franchise tagging him.
I mean, you're telling me you're gonna pay Daniel Jones $40 million, and then you're just gonna tell your best player on offense to here's $11 million.
Yeah, see ya. Sorry, I don't know what to tell you. We drafted you second overall, and we're still not gonna pay you, but we'll franchise tag you twice and let you walk after that.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So I'm shout out to the running backs again for taking that stand, and I hope it all works out in their favor.
For sure.
I mean, the only thing I could really think of, your first-round running back, make their contract shorter.
Yeah.
Make it like a 3-year contract, and then you can only franchise tag them once. That's only 4 years, and that's less than what their rookie contracts are, which is a 5-year contract right off the jump. Because after that 4th year, you either got to pay that guy after you franchise tag him, or let him walk, and someone else is going to pay him. And I think that's the easiest fix. I mean, I'm sorry if other positions still get franchise tagged twice, but the average money per year is not adding up for them.
Not at all.
So,
running back market's tough right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of guys, like former first-round pick last year, Brian Robinson. I think he's going to be the guy in Washington. But, I mean, who knows? He might have a couple big years, and then the same situation might go down. Mm-hmm. They're going to want to franchise tag him. And, I mean, I don't really think you could give running backs incentives in their contracts. Because, I mean, what if they go down week 2 or week 3?
Exactly.
I mean, you're going to, like, I hope people don't get hurt. I hope running backs don't get hurt. But, I mean, running down the tackles and running down and getting hit every play, picking up blitzes, you're going to get a little banged up.
And you're picking up D tackles, D ends that are
full head of steam,
200, 300 pounds bigger than you, so... But let's be real. When Brian Robinson came out last year after he got shot
that was tough.
to 50 Cent in the background, That's the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was tough.
I'm sorry, that was so tough.
My boy got shot and came back before Michael Thomas.
Yes. Michael Thomas still ain't back yet.
Yeah, I don't know what that man's doing.
He got paid though.
He did get paid.
Man's getting paid. He ain't even playing. You have Saquon Barkley. Can't get paid.
He ain't even the best running back or receiver on his team.
No.
Olave's better at this
Chris
point.
Olave is definitely better than
He's
him
definitely
right now.
lost a step. I mean, yeah, he had a great year when they had Drew Brees receiving and broke the record and stuff, but since then he's just
hasn't been
fallen
there.
off.
He hasn't played. It's kind of hard to be good if you're not playing. But yeah, I think Brian Robinson does good. I think we didn't really talk about Alexander Madison a whole lot. We did a little bit, but definitely go get Alexander Madison. Miles Sanders. It's crazy how
his contract
he got signed for $7.2 million, and all 5 of the running backs for the Eagles, their combined contract is $7.2 million.
And they got some dudes like Swifty.
They got Rashad Penny. Kenneth Gainwell still.
That's ridiculous.
They still got some guys over there too. I mean, anyone's going to do good behind that Philly O-line.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, but I don't know who to draft out of any of those guys. I mean, you can pick one of them late if they're there and hope he's the guy.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard in fantasy when there's a backfield. It's like running back by committee.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people are really high on Bijan Robinson right now. But at the end of the day, I think Tyler Algier is going to steal a lot of that workload, and people still aren't even talking about Cordell Patterson. Like,
yeah.
I'm a Falcons fan myself. I love Bijan Robinson to death. But at the end of the day, Tyler Algier had a 1,000-yard season last year.
Yeah.
And he was the number 1 running back with 8 people in the box, I believe.
Damn.
They were loading 8 people in the box 40% of the time, and he still went out there and got 1,000 yards.
Do you blame him, though?
I mean, no. What, you think Mariota's going to throw that thing?
No, he wasn't. So, yeah, Miles Sanders and Tyler Algier are both easy late round pickups. The only reason I'm kind of saying Miles Sanders just a little bit, when he was in Philly, Deuce Staley was his running back coach in Philly. Deuce Staley is now the running back coach in Carolina, so I think that's a big reason why Miles Sanders went there. And who else they have that's going to take a lot of his work?
When really they got rid of Foreman.
They got rid of Foreman, so I mean he's on the Bears now. So I mean I think Miles Sanders can be just PPR wise. He's going to get his catches. He's going to have some value for you probably, and I'd say the 9th round.
For sure. So, I mean, we talked a lot about running backs. I mean, their contracts are ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
We got over that stage.
Yep.
I mean, now, I think a big topic right now is Jordan Addison, bro. What are you doing speeding? 140.
Dude, 140 and a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, you know? It's almost like, this is terrible to say, but it's like kind of like Henry Ruggs. It's one of those situations. Jordan Addison wasn't drunk or nothing like that, but I mean, you got to learn from something like that. So
I mean, he got to learn, but he didn't kill a dog or a person.
Yeah, no, I understand that. So hopefully he learns from this and gets better from this. But with that being said, I think KJ Osborne's fantasy value
went up
quite a bit.
For sure.
And you know, watching that quarterback series, Kirk Cousins was looking at KJ Osborne
a lot,
pretty often. I think more than Thielen, and Thielen's now out of there also.
I mean, Justin Jefferson's gonna get the double teams.
Oh yeah,
he's gonna beat the double teams.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
But I mean, it's tough. Jordan Addison's either gonna be that second guy, or KJ Osborne's gonna be that second guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that receiving trio is gonna be something to be reckoned with next year.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. And I think Kirk. I mean, we can talk about Kirk Cousins in fantasy right now too. I mean, look who he has to throw the ball to and hand it to. He's in a perfect situation. I wouldn't probably say to make him your starter, but he'd be a solid backup for you if you had like a Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts that runs the ball and kind of goes down. So, I mean, I would definitely look for Kirk Cousins probably in like the 10th round.
I agree with that. 10th or 11th round there. I mean, Kirk Cousins, I think a lot about football is coaching.
Yep.
And I think Kevin O'Connell added to not even just Kirk Cousins' confidence, in my opinion. Not his level of play. He's always been a great player.
Right.
Put the ball where he wants. But I think Kevin O'Connell believing in Kirk Cousins made him so much better than he is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, if you've been watching quarterbacks, you'd go out there and say you're the best player on the field. And we all know Justin Jefferson's the best player on the field. Like, even Dalvin Cook, in my opinion, is better than Kirk.
I mean, another big topic we kind of talked about a little bit. We kind of called a little bit. D-Hop.
Yep.
He goes to Tennessee. We kind of both were leaning towards Tennessee. Me being a Dolphins guy, Ryan Tannehill's going to give him his chances down the field.
Oh, for sure.
He's going to throw it down there. I mean, he did good with A.J. Brown. He did good with Devontae Parker when Devontae Parker was healthy. Tannehill's going to give him them chances, and with D-Hop having so many incentives in that contract, I think D-Hop has a big year, and I don't think they can really double him because I do think Treylon Burks is a pretty good young wide receiver, receiver 2.
I mean, shit, at the end of the year, he was like receiver 1 volume type guy. Yeah. I mean, I think his fantasy value definitely dips a bunch.
With D-Hop there, 100%.
He's going to get the 13 targets a game. So, I mean, those are going to be losing 4 to 6 targets that Treylon Burks was going to get.
Mm-hmm.
So his value goes down, but I think DeAndre Hopkins' value shoots up. I don't see him as I don't think he's a 3rd or 4th round guy. If he's there in the 5th, steal him.
Yeah, and you know, I think it helps Derrick Henry out.
Oh, yeah.
They're not going to be able to load that box up. They have a veteran wide receiver 1 regardless out there. And, you know, I think it helps Treylon Burks out, too. I think he's going to be able to learn from D-Hop.
Yep.
And probably take that next step because D-Hop's contract's only a 2-year. He might opt out after this year. They could trade him, whatever happens. But I think it definitely will help Treylon Burks. He's not going to get the cornerback ones.
Yep.
So,
I mean, I like the Titans. I really do. But it really bugs me when they're down like 7 to 14 points and then they just put in their receiving backs. Like Derrick Henry, regardless when he's on the field, is a threat. I mean, if you want to put it in a 2 running back set, at least leave the guy on the field.
Yeah, just have it.
Just a decoy in a way. I mean,
100%.
He's sitting on the sideline ain't doing you no good. I mean,
that's where they want him.
I mean, yeah.
Opposing teams want him on the sideline.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
I mean, any given play, especially in the late game, they don't want to tackle Derrick Henry. So watching him on the sideline, opposing defenses love it. I mean, I think Jonathan Ward is a great receiving back. I think they draft Ty Spears or whatever.
Yeah, Ty Spears from Tulane.
I think that adds a little bit of value to their backfield, but at the end of the day, I don't think they need it all. I mean, you got Derrick Henry, bro. You don't need to have him on the bench when you're down 14. Like, you can still give him the ball.
Yeah. I'm with you.
So, I don't know.
And especially if it's only like 2nd or 3rd quarter. I mean, you can't just throw away your whole offensive game plan that early.
Yep.
But I think D-Hop's fantasy value actually is pretty good.
D-Hop, yeah, for sure.
I think he's definitely a top 20 easily wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. I mean, 4th round even, I'd get him. Late 4th round.
Yep. Another guy, I mean, kind of coming from that team where D-Hop was, I think Hollywood Brown has a good year.
Oh, yeah.
He is the wide receiver 1 in Arizona. He's not like he's not used to that. He was that in Baltimore. He's Kyler's guy. We don't know when Kyler's going to come back. So, I mean, if Hollywood Brown's out there late, it's not going to hurt you to waste a pick. I mean, I'd rather have a Hollywood Brown over a wide receiver 2 in some places.
For sure. Hollywood Brown definitely has a lot of value in my opinion. I mean, he's still going to get his targets, going to go down the field, get his deep shots. But staying in that division, I'd rather have Brandon Ayuk than Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think Deebo Samuel's value kind of went down after Christian McCaffrey's there. He really wasn't in that backfield as much. McCaffrey kind of took all that over. And if we're going based off a wide receiver standpoint, Brandon Ayuk is a better straight-on wide receiver than Deebo Samuel.
For sure.
I mean, his route running is exceptional. His leverage in and out of his breaks is exceptional. And I think Brandon Ayuk takes a big, big leap. Yep. I think Brock Purdy was more looking for Brandon Ayuk than Deebo. So I think if Brock Purdy's out there, I think Brandon Ayuk is going to be another steal out there for sure because everybody's going to take Deebo before him.
Oh, for sure. And, I mean, he's definitely going to be on the board a lot longer. I don't think people look at his value as big as someone like Deebo Samuel, but at the end of the day, I think they're going to have fairly similar touches. I think Deebo Samuel's going to get those handoffs, which isn't a point. And I think Brandon Ayuk's going to get those 3 or 4 like yard catches that he could turn into 15 to 20.
Yeah, there was multiple games that Purdy was looking for Ayuk down in the red zone, and he got quite a few touchdowns.
I mean, look what he did against the Cardinals, bro, on that zig route.
Yep.
Oof.
He torched him. It was like what Justin Jefferson did to Stephon Gilmore.
Almost worse.
Almost worse. What he did to Stephon Gilmore was disgusting, though. Yeah, that was disgusting. Here's another one. I think this guy has pretty good fantasy value. I think DJ Moore. I think him going over there to be Justin Fields' wide receiver 1, I think that's going to help out. I mean, we both watched J1 so much at Ohio State. I mean, he can definitely throw that thing. He's a great quarterback, but he had nobody to throw to last year. I mean, Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool are not wide receiver 1s. DJ Moore is that guy.
For sure.
I think he's definitely going to open it up. I mean, J1 can hit the deep ball. I mean, it'll be there. I mean, he needs a little bit of an O-line to help him out, but I think DJ Moore getting out of Carolina is definitely going to help Justin Fields out over there.
I think Justin Fields, this is his make it or break it type season. I mean, he's either going to prove all the haters wrong and saying I could throw that thing, or he's going to have a terrible year throwing the ball, and people are going to stay stereotypical and call him a running quarterback.
Yep.
That's what it's going to come down to. I mean, at the end of the day, I really think he can throw the ball. Look what he did against Clemson in the playoff game.
Oh, he killed him.
I mean, even last year he had a couple good games throwing the ball, but I mean, what he can do with his legs and extending the play is gonna get DJ Moore and those other guys open down the field.
Yeah, it's not a bad receiving core now.
No.
I mean, now they all come in for a whole season. I mean, they traded for Claypool middle of the year.
Yep.
So, I mean, he kind of gets a whole year there. DJ Moore gets a whole year there. And they've already had Darnell Mooney there. I mean, Cole Kmet's pretty good tight end, too.
For sure.
And Khalil Herbert ain't a bad back either. So I think he's got some weapons there. I think J1 takes a big leap. That's another guy you could probably target pretty late.
Yep.
And you can use his fantasy upside with his legs also, too. So I think you get him pretty late. You might even be able to be your quarterback one in some leagues.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think quarterback one, and like you got two solid quarterbacks who's playing the worst defense, who's playing in a dome, not outside in the rain, has to do a lot with fantasy.
Yep. So I think Justin Fields definitely can be a late round steal for you guys.
Another receiver that I really like this year, everyone's talking about him, huge contract, OBJ to Baltimore.
Yes, sir.
What you think about that? I mean, I think Lamar, new OC, going to throw the ball.
I do too, and I think I saw Odell on some workouts. Man, he looks shredded. He looks ready to go. He sat out a whole year. He had all that time to work, get healthy finally. And let's not forget what that guy's capable of. He can make any play on the field. He can go by you. He can cut you off. He can catch it one-handed. It don't matter. I think OBJ goes crazy this year. I think he gets all of his contract worth. I think Baltimore is happy they finally paid him. Finally got Lamar, wide receiver one. I think OBJ has a monster year, and nobody's really talking about him.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. I think he's up there. I think he's going to prove a point and be one of the top guys in the division at the receiver standpoint, and that's saying a lot because Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are in that division. I mean, you got George Pickens in that division as well. Amari Cooper in that division as well. So, I mean, there's some guys at receiver in that division, but I think OBJ and Lamar Jackson are going to have a little, like, chemistry type deal.
I think the connection's going to be good.
Yep, and I think that Lamar extending the play, OBJ knows how to move and get open in the zone. I mean, he's a vet at this point in his career.
Yep.
He's seen every coverage at him. I mean, when he was in his prime in New York, he was getting doubles, he was getting zone coverage, shaded over the top, he was getting everything thrown at him. And I think at this point in his career, it showed last year or 2 years ago, if he wasn't hurt in that Super Bowl, he's a Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, he's winning that MVP. I was about to say the exact same thing. If he didn't get hurt, he definitely would have won that MVP. He was going crazy. I mean, luckily they still won, so he still got a ring out of the whole thing. And I think Zay Flowers is probably going to help him out. I don't think you can't double OBJ because Zay Flowers will torch you. I mean, They still got Rashad Bateman. He's a burner. Devin Duvernay's a burner, and they still got Mark Andrews.
Oh, for sure.
So I mean, they definitely got some weapons on that team. I mean, we can talk about another guy in that division. Deontay Johnson.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I mean, he had not a good year last year. I mean, he had Mitch Trubisky to start, and then Kenny Pickett was a rookie coming into there. But a lot of people aren't really high on him. A lot of people are more higher on George Pickens. But I think Deontay Johnson is still, right now, that wide receiver one. We can kind of see how it goes out the year. George Pickens is really good. So I think a lot of people are going to be focusing more on George Pickens than Deontay Johnson. But he can do it all. He's a burner over the top. He can run routes. But he needs to catch the damn ball.
Yeah.
That's his only downside. The guy has a lot of drops, but I mean, that's something you can fix, something you can work on. That's an easy fix.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think year two, Kenny Pickett, we can kind of talk about him too.
I think he's taking a leap.
I think he's taking that leap also, so I do think that helps Deontay Johnson out also. I think Kenny Pickett kind of got thrown in there under the fire a little bit. Sure. He was really turning the ball over, but down the stretch, he only threw like one interception in their last like 6 games. I think Kenny Pickett has a big leap, and he's got some guys too. I mean,
Najee in the backfield, George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. That's not a terrible offense.
No, and you got Pat Freiermuth at tight end. So
I mean, who knows? Steelers might take a big leap. That defense is always going to be.
Mike Tomlin's a great coach.
Yep. He is. He's never had a under 500 season.
No, 19, 20 years. That's remarkable. I think Deontay Johnson would do good. I think you can get him late, and he's a wide receiver one. I'd rather have like we said, that wide receiver one than like a wide receiver two
like
on some other teams.
Like, I mean, T. Higgins is going to go in third round-ish, and he's a wide receiver two.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver two, and Jamar Chase is going to get more targets than him.
So, that's a tough topic.
Yep. You can pick the next one.
Someone we haven't really talked about. Scary Terry. Terry McLaurin. I mean, people are liking to say Jahan Dotson is going to take the leap, take his workload, but this is really going to show, is Sam Howell that guy? Is he going to take I mean, he isn't really, what does he play, few games?
Only like 2 or 3 games.
2 or 3 games. I mean, we're going to really find out if he's that guy. He's got weapons. He's got Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson in the backfield. Mm-hmm. He's got Jahan Dotson and the man, Scary Terry. I mean, wherever he's been, with whatever quarterback he's had, he's produced his whole career.
Yep.
You put the ball anywhere near him, he's going to go up and get it. I mean, yeah, that's a good division. I mean, the Eagles have great corners on each side, great defense. I mean, But at the end of the day, I think Scary Terry is going to show he is a receiver one in this league, and he is in this league to stay. And at the end of the day, we're going to find out, is Eric Bieniemy a big part of that Kansas City offense, or is he going to come over to Washington
and kind of make that jump for
and
them?
make that jump?
I think everything you said is correct. I mean, Scary Terry's been producing with whoever he has had throwing him the ball. I mean, you don't hear from him being a problem inside the locker room, not getting touches, receptions, nothing. He goes out there, he goes to work.
Class act.
Class act guy. He's great. He's great. I think he has a big year. I think Sam Howell, if he just stays inside the game plan, I think Sam Howell can do good and get everybody involved.
That Washington defense is something that no one's talking about.
No, that
defensive line
will definitely keep them in games. Chase Young looks ready to come back. I mean, he looks good. I honestly think he could probably win comeback player of the year.
They got two of the best defensive tackles in football.
Yep.
So I mean, that defense is going to be something this year, and I think the Commanders definitely have something to prove a little bit. I think that they're going to go out there and they're going to kind of surprise people this year.
Yeah, and I think the fans are going to be rejuvenated down there with the team getting sold from Dan Snyder. I think they're actually going to have people at the game showing up, selling out. So I think the Commanders have a lot to prove this year, just as a whole organization and a whole.
I mean, last year they were top 5 or top 3 in QB hits.
Yeah.
Like, they put some pressure on the quarterback. You're going down to FedEx Field, you're getting hit.
Yep, 100%. That D-line's good. Defense is good. We can talk about another guy. I think Chris Olave.
Yep.
I think he's the wide receiver one over there in New Orleans. I think he's probably going to be the best quarterback he's had. I know he was a rookie last year. He had Andy Dalton, and Jameis might have played a little bit. But I think Derek Carr's a veteran. He's going to show Chris Olave some things. But, I mean, he's a burner down the field. I mean, so he's going to get his targets. He's going to be that wide receiver one. Even if Michael Thomas is there, I'm not worried about none of that. But not a lot of people are talking about Chris Olave. You can probably get him at least in the 6th or 7th round. Be a solid guy for you probably every week, because if he hits one of them deep shots, he's already produced his fantasy points for you that week. So I think Chris Olave has a big year.
I agree with that. And staying in the division, I think Drake London has a big year. I think Desmond Ridder being the starter is going to change a lot of things. I mean, at the end of the year last year, he was getting 60-ish% of the target rate. I mean, yeah, Kyle Pitts was down at the end of the year. But at the end of the day, Desmond Ridder loves to throw the ball to Drake London. He loves to give him a chance with the ball. And at the end of the day, I think he's going to be a receiver one. I think him and Kyle Pitts are going to be like a 1-2 punch type deal. But I think Drake London's going to have a bigger workload each week. And just depending on how many targets he gets is going to depend how he does.
Well, I'll just agree with everything you said, because that's your favorite team, and you probably know more about them than me, but I do agree. I think Drake London, I mean, he's a big body wide receiver. He's going to get his catches in the red zone, his targets, his looks.
They took him so high for a reason. I mean, they took him over Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson had an offensive rookie of the year last year. So, I mean, I think Drake London kind of has something to prove.
Yes, I think so, too. You don't hear nothing bad about the guy either, starting any problems or nothing. I think Drake London does good. Brandon Cooks. I feel like he's not going to get doubled at all. I mean, CeeDee Lamb, he's definitely going to take most of those cornerback ones away. And Dak really likes to throw the ball around, you know. He doesn't just look at one guy. I think Dak will have a big year. I think Brandon Cooks will be a big part of that. I think he can have some 8 to 10 reception games. It's just kind of finding the right matchup and when you want to play him. But it's someone you can get late in the draft, and you don't got to use a high draft pick on like a wide receiver too.
He's a solid flex play in a lot of games this year.
And especially if you're in about 12 team leagues, you can probably find some value from him later in the draft for sure.
For sure. I mean, one other guy I'm really kind of high on is Isaiah Hodgins. I mean, we're talking about how it's going to be without Saquon if he signs, what happens there. But at the end of the day, Isaiah Hodgins didn't get enough love last year. No. I mean, towards the end of the year, he was playing that playoff game with a broken foot.
Yeah, it went crazy.
Fractured foot, my bad. But at the end of the day, he had like his best game towards the end of the year. I think him and Daniel Jones kind of get a little connection going, and I think he's going to be a sleeper. He's going to be a guy you could get really, really late, like almost towards the end of the draft. Like 14, depending on how many rounds you guys do. I think he's a round 14 type guy. You keep him on your bench. If you have to drop him, you have to drop him. But I think he could be a solid flex play here and there.
Yeah, his upside is worth drafting that late in the draft, for sure. I think a quarterback we didn't really talk about. We can talk about Jared Goff.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's going to get you your points just based off he's going to be checking it down Jahmyr Gibbs. He still has Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, I have him being a fantasy MVP. Some people are going to win some leagues with Amon-Ra. He's definitely going to have some big games. I mean, and then you still got Jameson Williams.
Coming back,
When he comes back out of his suspension, I think he'll be another part of that offense. I think Jared Goff really probably played his best football in his career last year.
Yep.
I mean, I know they went to the Super Bowl that year, but I think a lot of that was Sean McVay and how good that defense was, and Todd Gurley went crazy.
Yep.
But I think Jared Goff could have a pretty big year for some people.
I agree with all that. I mean, a lot of people were making fun of Jared Goff when he first got to the Lions, calling him check down Goff, saying you throw the ball like Jared Goff. And now that's a compliment, man. He's been balling end of the year. He was really out there getting the job done. I think Dan Campbell puts those guys in a position to win every single week.
Yep.
So I think he's going to get his fantasy value every single week, to be honest.
I agree. 100%.
I mean, we talked about this guy a little bit. Kenny Pickett taking a leap. I think he takes a leap. I think he's got the guys on offense. It's just going to be questionable if he takes a leap or not.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I think he will. I mean, he kind of put Pittsburgh football on the map a little bit there in those couple years he was in college. I think he's a hometown guy. Obviously, he's been there for a little while. I think Kenny Pickett takes a leap. I mean, he'd definitely be a backup on my fantasy team if I were to draft him, but I wouldn't mind starting him in a couple games.
For sure.
I think another guy, Matt Stafford.
Bounce back year?
I think he has a bounce back year. I mean, Cooper Kupp comes back, and whenever Cooper Kupp's out there with Matthew Stafford, they have that connection. I mean, the first year they were there, they went and won the Super Bowl. So
it happens when you eat breakfast with each other every day.
You gotta put that chemistry in so you know where they're gonna be. I mean, that one throw he threw to Cooper Kupp, third down in the Super Bowl, that no look across the middle.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. I think he's had an arm talent ever since he's been in the league. Best team he's probably been on in a long time. Obviously, was the Rams. He won a Super Bowl. But I think he bounces back. I think he probably has 2 solid years left in him, but I think he could definitely, if you need to put him in there because your quarterback's on a bye week or something, I wouldn't have any problem starting him.
I think the Rams are going to be kind of bad, so I mean, he's going to be throwing the ball. They're going to be down in a lot of games, so I mean, he's going to be having a lot of pass attempts.
Yeah, I agree.
One other quarterback we haven't really got around to a little bit. We talked about him getting his money. Daniel Jones, you think he kind of has something to prove with Darren Waller there now, or?
I think he's got a. I mean, Darren Waller's a great wide receiver, tight end type guy. I mean, he's big, he's physical, he's gonna get open, he's gonna draw his pass interferences. I think Daniel Jones has to prove something. He just got paid $40 million. I think it's second year in Brian Daboll's system. We can see if he takes another leap from what he already did last year, because last year he did take a leap. I mean, they paid him. I think he does good. I mean, he has running upside.
He has legs, yeah.
He does have legs. He can move a little bit. So, I mean, he's worth a stash in like the 14th, 12th round if you need a backup quarterback personally.
For sure. I mean, that's all really the quarterbacks we got to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, you guys watched the other one. We had our top 10 big boards and stuff like that. Those are the quarterbacks you're probably going to have. If you're in a 12-team league, you'll probably get one of those. So, there's some other guys. I mean, I think Justin Fields is probably the one I'd probably target the most out of all those. I think he takes the biggest leap besides those guys.
Oh, for sure.
And his running with his legs just makes him a
he might go get 100. He might go get 100 yards. Then you get your 5-point bonus. That's 10 points plus a 5-point bonus. 15. Yeah. He might throw 2 touchdowns. You get those 4 points for each. It's already 20-some. He throws the ball around 200 yards.
Yeah, so
gets you 25.
Yeah, so I think Fields definitely has some high upside in fantasy. We have a couple tight ends with some upside. Juwan Johnson. I think he did great last year with Andy Dalton. I think he's going to do even better with Derek Carr.
For sure.
I mean, look what Derek Carr did with Darren Waller when he was out there. And the guy's a freak, you know. Sure. He can make any play that Darren Waller can make. I'm not saying he's Darren Waller, but he definitely has that upside. Yep, 100%.
I agree with that. I mean, we talked about this guy a little bit, Dalton Kincaid. I mean, on some fantasy sheets, he's low. On some fantasy sheets, he's high. But if you got a quarterback like Josh Allen to get you the ball, and he's a great prospect out of Utah, I think he's going to go out there and produce.
I do too. And I think whenever Stephon Diggs calms down and shows up to camp, you got Stephon Diggs out there, you got Gabe Davis out there. That's another guy right there, Gabe Davis. If Stephon Diggs ain't out there, Gabe Davis could have some pretty big fantasy upside just based off of Josh Allen. But I think they went and got Dalton Kincaid because I think they're taking a blueprint from Kansas City and trying to use Dalton Kincaid as like that Travis Kelce type role.
Yep.
So I think Dalton Kincaid has a pretty big year. I think he's going to end up getting more of the receiving load than Dawson Knox. I think Dawson Knox is going to be your blocking tight end when they're running the ball, and then maybe swing him out every once in a while to keep people honest. But I think Dalton Kincaid is their tight end one fantasy-wise.
No, I agree with that for sure. I agree with that. Speaking of Dalton, I think Dalton Schultz goes to Houston. I think C.J. Stroud, you've seen it in college. He loves to get the ball to his tight end.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dalton Schultz has a pretty big year, underrated guy. I think you get him really, really late. He could even be a tight end too if you want to start him. Go ahead. I mean, tight end's hard in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
You could get 2 points. You could get 12. You could get 20. It just depends. So, I mean, tight end's definitely a tough spot in fantasy.
Yep.
I almost like leagues where there's no tight end and there's 3 receivers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if my tight end gets me 10 points,
cool.
I'm pretty happy with that. The only tight end I'd ever draft high, but I can't find myself to do it, is Travis Kelce. I don't care how many points he puts up. I just can't draft him in the first or second round.
Yeah, me neither.
I just can't do it. But I think O.J. Howard's there in Houston too, but I think Dalton Schultz eventually is the tight end one in Houston fantasy-wise. Because, I mean, O.J. Howard really hasn't produced that much in his career.
No, I agree with that for sure.
So, I mean, that's definitely some guys out there. That's probably 30-ish people you guys can probably target late in the draft. Because obviously the top 10s we have, most of those people are going to be gone pretty early. But
for sure.
Those are all people you guys can target.
A lot of value there. I mean, a lot of fantasy is how the first few rounds go, and then at the end of that, it's who you could get late, and people don't talk about enough the waiver wire and picking up people in fantasy.
Yep.
Dropping a defense, picking up a new one, simple stuff like that, keeping the valuable guys you got. And at the end of the day, if you do that stuff, you should have a pretty successful fantasy year.
Yeah, and hopefully we can help you out with that.
So, I mean, we're definitely going to tune in, have some more fantasy episodes, I bet, before the season starts. I mean, it's hard without Josh Jacobs and Saquon going.
Being there, yeah.
I think we could probably do a little mock draft, see how it goes. I mean, yeah, you're going to have Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson going 1 or 2, but the rest of the first rounds just dependent on the person, depending if they want receiver, running back.
Right.
And you're always going to have that guy in the fantasy league that's going to pick Patrick Mahomes
in the first or second round. Yep, 100%. I was about to say that too.
So, yeah, that's what it comes down to.
I agree.
So,
well, thanks everybody. Episode 6.
This is
the
VanDyke Show. Tune in next week.